Russia tensions escalate after clashes kill 4 Ukrainian soldiers in 2 days. As of April 5, there were 87,000 soldiers on the Russian-Ukrainian border and thousands more on the Belarus-Ukraine border, and still the medias on TV are silent. After an intelligence review of Russian activities against the U.S. since 2016, Biden is preparing for retaliation against Russia. This might explain in part why Putin is hellbent on raising tensions. Russia's deputy foreign minister says that Russian ambassador to U.S. will not be returning to D.C. anytime soon. Well, ain't that a damn shame. Russia's propaganda war on social medias escalate, saying that NATO troops are heading to the front in Ukraine, which is total bullshit. Same disinformation forwarded by hundreds of accounts on Instagram and on Twitter. Never seen anything like this since 2014. More propaganda. Russian state media, RIA, reports that Ukraine may launch an offensive in Donbass in the last week of April, according to the Donetsk People Republic. Felgenhauer, a very respected Russian military analyst, says that Moscow will be ready to invade Ukraine in a month, in early May. Russia has been sending sniper squads to eastern Ukraine. A train is seen transporting T-90A tanks and BTR-82 armored personnel carriers toward Ukraine. The U.S. has sent 3 large military cargoes to Ukraine in the last 10 days, totaling 350 tons, which included 35 Humvee military vehicles.
A train loaded with tanks from the 74th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Russian Army is moving from Siberia in the Far East to the Voronezh region bordering Ukraine, something that virtually never happened. April 7, 2021, Voronezh region, an anti-air missile system, the Buk missile system, Buk M2, or as NATO calls it, SA-17, is seen being transported on the border with Ukraine. On April 10, in Rostov-on-Don, in Russia, there will be a Congress of the leadership of the Union of Donbass Volunteers and the Political Council of the United Russia Party, Putin's political party. On April 21, Putin will deliver his State of the Union address to the Federal Assembly. According to Senate Speaker Valentina Matvienko, he will set up a new coordinate system. What that really means is a mystery, but I doubt it's something good. The Russian armed forces are doing training at the OPUK training grounds in Crimea, with the participation of the airborne assault companies of the Black Sea Fleet Marines. Usually they train to take beaches, like those opposing Crimea on the Ukraine mainland. Avdiivka, in eastern Ukraine, hears the sounds of war on April 7. There's lots of military movements of tanks and BMPs in Belarus near the Ukrainian border. Are those Russians or Belarusian tanks? Would Belarus join an invasion of Ukraine? Only Putin knows about those military exercises. It's not just on Ukraine's border, but all military districts are having readiness checks. All types and branches of the army will take part in them. The entire Russian army is being mobilized into combat readiness. Everything from sleepy Siberian depots, air forces bases to nuclear submarines and tank divisions. The only question is why? Is Putin that desperate to look like a good leader? A massive military hardware buildup in Crimea. I very much doubt they need all that for exercises. Russian propaganda has been pushed by Putin's press secretary himself, Dmitry Peskov, on Russian state TV, Rossiya 1. Basically he said that all those holding Russian passports in eastern Ukraine were now the priority of the president himself. All those Russian mercenaries and soldiers in eastern Ukraine are masquerading as poor little Russian citizen being oppressed by Ukraine and under military threat for just being Russian. It's total bullshit, and the same reason Hitler used to invade Poland and take over Czechoslovakia in 1938. If those Russians in eastern Ukraine really want to be Russians, what about they move back to Russia? Russia's population is declining, so shouldn't they be welcomed with open arms? Another hint that Putin is planning more than exercises. Military units traveling around Russia have been hiding their identities/markings, and there's not one good reason for it except if you gonna show up somewhere you're not supposed to, like Ukraine. A unit that would be very useful against Ukraine defenses is the massive 240mm 2S4 Tulip mortar that was moved into Crimea. The system has a 10 km range with normal ammo, but with special ammo it can reach 20 km. This is the kind of artillery you would need to destroy defenses. It fires a 130 kg shell and can fire once a minute. Putin has put all those he has right where he would need them if he was planning for an offensive. In the last 4 days, Russia has created a massive 3 to 4 km long military camp near Ukraine. It has everything a military base needs, including a hospital. Seems to me you don't do that if it's just for exercises. More Russian propaganda from Russian state media. Ukraine and NATO confirm their plans to start a war over Crimea, except nobody has a plan to do that. It only exists in Putin's paranoid mind. Russian state TV is something else. Their latest crazy idea is this: Ukraine wants to start a war, and of course it's all a conspiracy by NATO to destroy Russia. Their solution: if NATO do anything to stop their invasion of Ukraine, they must use nukes in neutral territory or the ocean or something to send a message to the US and NATO. Putin is willing to start a nuclear war over this. These people are nuts, and the scariest thing is, probably a lot of Russians in the government think this is a good idea. The head of the DPR, Donetsk People's Republic, Pushilin, says that the situation in Donbas is deteriorating and escalating, but adds that there's no need for general mobilization. They want to look like poor defenseless sheep being attacked by the giant Ukrainian wolf. He adds that if Ukraine attacks, the DPR will counterattack, with Russian help of course, and who knows where his offensive will stop, Kiev perhaps? Russia has been doing drills and deploying all sorts of anti-air missiles on the border with Ukraine. From short range to long range, to make sure all sorts of air threats could be countered. Would surely be useful if you were planning an invasion and wanted to impose a no-fly zone quickly. Sounds of war, Donetsk. Meanwhile, Ukraine has asked to do military exercises with NATO and has asked to speed up NATO membership plan. Lithuania has submitted a speed-up membership plan to NATO for Ukraine. Of course, Russia would hate Ukraine joining NATO because they couldn't attack it anymore without any consequences. Ukraine intelligence report on Russian forces on April 6, 2021. Russia continues to build up combat capabilities in Donbas and Luhansk. Combat troops from all districts are pouring in the southern military district. Russian armed forces have increased their reserves to refill their forces in Donbas. When asked by NATO and the US how long would Russia continue to raise tensions with Ukraine with all those military deployments, Putin responded, "I will decide for how long," finally admitting that it's not at all about exercises. Tap water in Crimea is just getting better. This is one of the reasons why Putin needs to invade Ukraine, to get up to the Dnieper River and have free, cheap, and clean water directly to Crimea. Russian invaders in eastern Ukraine being pounded to hell by Ukrainian artillery. Ain't that a shame?